Wouldn't it be cool to be Buzz Lightyear? Now you can be Buzz in the new Toy Story 2 video game. Use lasers and whirling torso spins to save the day. Jump, swing and somersault through the air with a special rocket jet and moonspring boots. There you are! In the new Toy Story 2 video game, you are Buzz Lightyear. Life is good.
The 90s and early 2000s were a big time for video games based on films, and Disney had plenty. Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue came out in 1999 on the Nintendo 64, PlayStation and PC, followed by the Dreamcast in 2000, and it has a bit of a cult following when it comes to the game. Made by Traveller's Tales, the people who are most famous by making the LEGO games, with Toy Story being the franchise that it was and how much of an impact the film had at the time, it's no surprise that games were made. While the first film did have some video games made from it, it wasn't until the second film and this game that really made it take off in video games. Talking about a game that is 25 years old is kind of crazy at this point. Toy Story was just the choice of many Disney films that got adapted into video games, and they were huge during the early 90s and 2000s. But somehow this and many other Disney games have gone down in history for the best reasons, as well as some of the worst. I'd also like to point out that I adore video games, but wouldn't call myself a good gamer. I happily play on easy mode, and I'm going to be reviewing this game from a perspective as what some would consider a casual gamer, albeit a very passionate one. And after spending countless hours playing this game and making Let's Plays for you guys, which, by the way, go check them out, I am here and ready to talk about Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue. This is Retrospective. So the game starts out following the events of the first film with real in-movie cutscenes, and holy hell, if you ever need proof that a game was made 25 years ago, this is how. The audio in these scenes is absolutely insane. For the record, I am playing this game on PlayStation 5, and it sounds like everyone is talking through radios.
Take Woody, it's illegal! Go on, let's do something!
It's also interesting how some of these cutscenes from the film sound and feel different. Some of the lines are spoken differently, and some music has been completely changed. I can only assume the game designers didn't either have the legal rights to keep it the same, but it's definitely the original voice cast. But it's just strange how some of them are exactly the same, and some of them are completely different. So the game consists of levels ranging from two separate types, the first being levels that have you collecting tokens after completing certain tasks, and the other being boss battles. Boss battles are pretty fun, breaking up the usual levels quite nicely. Weirdly enough, they are breathing rooms in between levels as you kinda go in, defeat the boss, and that's it. They range from incredibly easy to some being just downright annoying, mostly because you have no idea how to defeat them without just trying random things and pressing buttons. There is also boss battles in the regular levels, and with them comes my first issues with this game. The boss battles all have interesting ideas and concepts, some of them being actually really fun. The issue comes from the difficulty level. You have some like the famous drill boss in the construction level, or the Zerg kite in level 2. Both have such a small arena to fight that if you fall, you have to climb all the way back to the top. Sure, the boss's health stays the same, but it's incredibly annoying when you get knocked off the platform and have to spend time getting all the way back to them. But the bosses don't get harder with each level increasing in difficulty, naturally like most games. As I mentioned, the Zerg kite is in the second level, and for me is probably one of the most hardest boss battles in the game. But the Gunslinger, which is in a much later level, is incredibly easy. I just felt like bosses should naturally increase in difficulty, rather than just being random. The regular levels are all different in design, but they all share the same pattern, which is getting 5 tokens per level, by either beating a boss, a race of some sort, a puzzle, collecting coins for ham, and collecting 5 individual toys. They all range slightly differently, but that is the consensus. And while you think this style of leveling would feel a little bit annoyingly repetitive, I almost find it quite charming. While video games in the 90s based on films were not new, Toy Story is marketed towards people of all ages, so the idea of keeping things simple, I'm kind of okay with it. A game like this must keep hardcore gamers into it by not making it too easy, but still easy enough for a casual gamer to pick up and finish a level. It feels like it meets in the middle of doing enough of both. The levels all feel different from one another and have their own gimmicks and style. By all of them having the same objective, that being collecting 5 tokens in the same sort of way, it's like ticking the tokens off a checklist. While this might sound boring, it doesn't make the game feel stressful as some others. You can finish a level at any time and return, and you never feel like finishing a level halfway makes you feel like you have missed something. At least most of the time. While collecting coins and toys feels the same in every level, the boss battles and puzzles all feel unique and grounded to their level, making them unique. Whether it's the gunslinger in Al's penthouse in a cowboy-themed level, or going up against Buzz Lightyear himself in Al's Spaceland. The only thing that makes the game feel tedious at times is some of the backtracking you have to do in some levels. As you progress through the story, you must collect 5 parts of Mr. Potato Head, and in return he gives you access to gadgets like rocket boots and a grappling hook. This is really cool and all, but it doesn't feel like I go back to either A, levels that are interesting enough that I want to go back to them, and B, the gadgets feel earned to actually help you on the level. Some of them are fun, like the disc launcher which hones in on enemies, but you don't get it till much later in the game. The hover boots are cool, but it just feels a little bit boring when it comes from getting from point A to point B. As I mentioned, the 2 levels that you'll find yourself going back to are the worst levels, them being the construction yard and alleys and gullies. Not only do both of these levels have some of the most boring and lackluster designs, but some of them have the most annoying platforming you will ever see. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. Platforming is a huge part of this game, and while I do appreciate a good platformer, there is something in this game that you will hate no matter what.
The camera controls.
You see, unlike most games that would either have you being able to control the camera or just a fixed camera to the back, this camera is just free to move wherever it wants. Turn around swiftly? Oh yeah, that camera ain't moving until you walk at least a few good steps. Climbing a pole and need to line up a jump? Best of luck! The camera in this game is its biggest downfall, and it is a shame, as while you could just blame this on the PlayStation era of the technology, that's simply not fair considering there were plenty of platformers with very fine camera controls. Because of these camera controls, navigating these massive moments of platforming is incredibly difficult when you need precise controls. Otherwise, you must start the whole thing again, and it is just an absolute nightmare. There are some levels where you can unlock shortcuts like an elevator hop. This allows players to skip some of the more frustrating platforming moments. So the developers knew that they should do this, but forgot to do it in these 2 levels? My gripe with these 2 levels also stems from the fact that you do have to come back to them on a regular basis after unlocking certain gadgets. Their colour palette and design is just dull and boring. Unlike other great levels like Al's Toy Barn with its blue and bright colours, and Al's Penthouse with its cowboy themes and recreation of some of the rooms from the movie, compared to these levels it just feels dull and uninteresting. While the later levels leave the more colourful style in favour of the industrious style and design, with the finale being set in the airport, this feels more natural later on in order to feel the difficulty rise. But these 2 levels are far too soon, and if I'm going to come back to these levels, I want to come back to the best ones. When you are in levels, you spend most of your time platforming and shooting at enemies with your laser. Gameplay and combat for the most part still plays really well. There is enough difference in enemy types to keep you interested, with each enemy feeling unique in how you defeat it. There is even a laser upgrade for every level for it, and you can have it until you run out of ammo. I also love how the enemies range from cowboys with guns, Zerg-like vehicles, and kamikaze airplanes that explode on impact. I don't need to mention why this makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I did mention that this game came out in 1999, didn't I? Combat does feel fun, and it keeps you on your toes. The only gripe I have is with the first-person mode. That's right, you get to relive the moment in the first movie, and even hear Buzz's breathing. But when you enter this mode for some reason, the controls are inverted. I mean, look, I understand why inverted controls were a thing in the 2000s. A lot of games had this. But in modern times, I expect an options menu to be able to choose this option, and it wouldn't matter if some enemies and boss battles require you to go into first-person mode. I can't tell you how many times I ended up in first-person mode, only to end up firing at the floor. God, it's annoying! While some levels will range from awesome to downright boring, it's a good time to mention the game's sound design and music composed by Andy Blythe and Martin Justra, which, holy hell, for a game that didn't have much going on from the films, they do a fantastic job composing some awesome music that will stay in your head rent-free. Not only do we get a cool instrumental of You've Got a Friend in Me in the main menu, but each level has its own unique track to make it all feel unique. They range from fun and interesting to absolute bangers. I would say aside from a few, all tracks really stood out to me, with my favourite being Al's Toy Barn, Al's Penthouse and Andy's Neighbourhood. This music allows the game to feel more interesting to plan your next move. Going into levels can feel a little bit jarring of never knowing where to go first, but the music keeps things fun and interesting. It also allows each level again to feel like it's got its own time to shine, and boy does it do that. Even levels that might struggle to have its own personality really shine because of the music. Elevator Hop doesn't feel all that interesting compared to other levels, but its music gives it an extra bit of life to make it stand out. To make music of an elevator or an airport level and really make it stand out, they do an incredible job with the music. It is such a vibe. With a video game being based on a film, it would have been easy not to think too much into it. Video games based on films are already marketed pretty well, considering if you like the film, you naturally want to play the game. It was the 2000s alright, and we didn't care if the games weren't good. We just wanted to live our best fantasy of being Buzz Lightyear, or Sully from Monsters Inc., or Cusco from Emperor's New Groove. But they really didn't need to give us such amazing music in this game, and I really love that they did, as moving on to a new level is always fun, thinking about what song could be next, and returning to old levels feels awesome just to hear the music. Talking about a game such as this is sort of a difficult task. A game that is 25 years old almost feels silly. How does a game this old hold up? Should you still be playing it? And how much can be forgiven because of the time when it came out? If there's one thing I know, is that old games still hold up. As someone who just recently replayed all the Tomb Raider games, I realised that just because a game is much older doesn't make it any less more enjoyable or should be given a softer treatment because it's of the time. I try and look at this game from the perspective of someone who loves playing video games, but also doesn't enjoy a challenge. I am someone who happily plays on easy mode like I mentioned, and I just like to enjoy the story. I don't like much of a challenge, and if I'm getting frustrated with difficulty, for me, that's not a good thing. This game for the most part still holds up. Its level design makes it feel unique, and I miss the classic games of that era of the level system. Sure, games these days do have levels, but they feel more linear and connected. With something like this, I feel like I can pick up the game, complete a level, return, and feel like I can just continue from where I left off. The charm of this game comes from its level design and style. Going through levels like Al's Toy Barn, Al's Penthouse, and even Tarmac Trouble all feel fun and enjoyable. Obviously, with the game being based off a film, you already know the story. The game isn't going for an emotional thrill ride like Red Dead Redemption 2, but after all these years later, the game feels warm and refreshing. Completing levels and collecting the tokens feels fun, and that kind of progression is incredibly rewarding. The game doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. With 15 levels, any more would feel too long, and any less would feel like it's not worth your time. The game does a good job at breaking it all by using boss battles to break things up between levels, with some boss battles can range from downright fun to straight up just trial and error. If it weren't for the bad camera controls, the game would be an infinite win. I can handle some levels being better than others. I mean, every game out there has its bad levels that no one likes, but camera controls feel like you're fighting with the game itself. While I didn't realize until halfway through, if you are playing this game on PlayStation 5, there is a backtrack button which comes from playing like you would on an emulator, which saves you a whole lot of time and hassle when traversing the game. While I didn't realize this until halfway, I did not want to use this in order to test the game like it was back in the day. The controls have been updated so you can use the analog stick, but I would recommend using the D-pad as trying to get around with an analog stick is way too sensitive for this game. Overall, I would say this game is still a lot of fun. There is a fan remaster being remade in Unreal Engine 5 made by Level Redesign, and you should check out his video on YouTube. It looks awesome so far. And while this game is definitely in need of it because the gameplay and levels all hold up well, I believe some change to the camera controls and updated gameplay in this game would be awesome. Amazingly, in modern times, if you download the game now, then the game does have trophies, and platinum the game is an easy breeze. Most of you will get there just naturally doing tokens and tasks, but some of you won't won't think to do them unless you've read the trophies, but overall, it was easy. After finishing the game, I only had 5 more trophies to get, only one of them being a little bit difficult, that being killing the gunslinger with a charged laser, but apart from that, it was really simple. As I mentioned, this game is kinda made for younger audiences, so I understand why trophies aren't any more difficult. But given how the game is 25 years old, what children are playing this game? Kids stuck in their tablets playing Fortnite and Candy Crush. Real gamers play PlayStation 1 games. On the PlayStation 5. One of the things I want to mention is some of the puzzles in this game range from incredibly easy, like the paint mix challenge, to downright stupid, like the helicopter puzzle in the last level. I don't know if this is just because I'm not a good gamer, and really just not a fan of hard puzzles, but I would usually say this is what it comes down to. Considering how every puzzle can be solved by just pressing random buttons, then I am not going to call this good puzzle making. But considering it's made that people with brains can figure it out, and kids and idiots like me can finish it by accident, then I suppose I can't complain too much. Overall, I really enjoyed replaying this game. I have fond memories of it from my childhood, but I never got much of a chance to play it as it was usually my brother playing. While its camera controls are annoying, I think it's worth your time. With it being on modern consoles, make use of that rewind button as it will save a ton of headaches on the annoying platforming moments. But completing levels feels fun, and like classic games of the era, beating and finishing a level is just like the old games used to be. Combat is fun, boss battles can feel like they go from really hard to incredibly easy, but when you're completing these levels with such an incredibly fun soundtrack, you kinda don't mind most of the time. I don't think games like this made from famous IPs are made like this these days. While I adore modern gaming for its emotional storytelling and incredible graphics, hell, my favourite game series is Kingdom Hearts. Games like this are rarely made, and making it from a famous IP this good is rare. Most games based on movies tend to suck and feel like they're just cash grabbers, but with this, while there are issues, the game feels fun and actually feels like it has passion and love going into it. Considering how Telltale Games are known for making the LEGO games, which obviously a lot of those games are based on famous IPs, it's no wonder this game turned out to be as good as it is. While the game did get me frustrated thanks to a very slow camera controls, the game holds up and is still a lot of fun. Collecting tokens feels fun and rewarding, and every level feels unique. For instance, even by the final level, you can see Andy's house, the first level, in the background, and it all adds to the experience of seeing how far you've come. Aside from the camera, controls feel fluid and responsive. The game is still a ton of fun, and I was surprised how a lot of it still holds up. Music is a highlight, levels, aside from a few, are really creative, and it really does make me miss classic games of this era. Whether we get a remaster or not, everything really holds up, and I enjoyed a lot about this game. A game like this had no right being this good, and due to the way the game is designed, jumping back in and repeating the levels can be done at any time. I can safely say that Toy Story Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue is an absolute classic game in its own right. The first film did have its own video game adaptation, but it wasn't really until this one came out that they really put it on the map, and we wouldn't see a sequel until Toy Story 3 came out 11 years later. And not only did we skip the PlayStation 2, we went straight to the PlayStation 3. A new era for gaming.
What you doing?
Just downloading the next Let's Play game that I'm going to do for my channel.
Oh, what you doing?
You're not meant to show them that.